And,
Yeah. Hello.
we're going to be talking about contact strategy. And, again, I've worked at a lot of schools. I work with a lot of schools. And Paul and Sterling are going to, the three of us plus Lex, Lex pipe in whenever. Also, Tammy is going to be our camp counselor today, I think, right?
Yeah, chat monitor today.
Good. And again, we'll be asking some questions. We'll also be talking about some best practice strategies contact strategies that we have found, works for most schools. Probably the biggest challenge is somebody inquires about the school through an opt-in form, your website. They'll call, they'll leave a message, although they shouldn't have to leave a message, because one of the biggest peeves that I have is when I call a business, I don't care if it's a school or any company, and I get voicemail. Well, it's even more critical in a school. When you have an auto menu, and again, I'll just preach a little bit, but when you have an auto menu and you have to go through 5 different messages in order to try to reach the person you're reaching, it's very discouraging, particularly from a prospective student side, as well. And guess what? Statistics have shown, and I'm not real big on stats, but statistics have shown that 80% of the people that get answering machines, voice messages, hang up. And if you're in an area where there's a lot of competition, I mean, you may have 2, 3, 4, 5 schools teaching the same thing that you're teaching. And guess what? They get a voicemail, click, they hang up and go on to the conversation, go on to the competition. I know Lex in his Friday webinars, one of the things that he does, he just picks different schools to call. Last week, the week before, out of, 6 or 7 schools, Lex, I think 1 or 2 answered the phone. And it was incredible.
It's crazy. And we do an admissions TV show you're all invited to. The Art of Admissions, which I'm the CEO of. Every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we do an admissions interactive training TV show. It's free. Come tomorrow, which is Role Play Wednesdays, and come Friday for Mystery Shopping Fridays. We will mystery shop your competition, random schools, and hear how they do. And you'll hear most don't answer the phone, which is crazy.
No, they didn't. I think 90% that one day did not. And then there were a couple of brave souls on the phone who asked Lex to shop their schools. And guess what? They either got voicemail or, reception answered in one case and gave everything from tuition to courses to hours of attendance. And not one, I think one got contact info.
Right.
So,
and by the way, if you want a free mystery shop, also let me know. Lex at theartofadmissions.com. You will be surprised what we find out.
Someone asked in the chat for a link. So if you want to post a link so people could log in. When I think of first point of contact, I want to talk about what Scott mentioned earlier when he was discussing phone calls and not answering. I like to quantify things because I'm a numbers person. And so like if the chances, if someone's calling you and they have to leave a message, you not only do you lose on someone who you have 100% contact rate with because they're calling you, but they only a certain percentage leave a message. And I think Scott said 80% don't. And so the ones that do leave a message, you still only have on average a 60% contact rate with internet leads to start with. So then what you're seeing is that the actual chance of contacting them in the end, when you would have had 100% contact rate, is now a fraction, like a third or less. So if you want to quantify it, a phone call can be worth 2 to 3 times as much as an internet lead. And people spend so much money on Google AdWords, getting internet leads, doing everything they can to optimize their websites, and then you just let the phone ring, and these things are much more valuable. So as a numbers person, it drives me nuts, because if you just pick up your phone, you could save, every time you pick up your phone, you could save yourself a couple $100s on Google AdWords, because you're paying for that lead otherwise. So yeah, that's the one that drives me the most nuts. Sorry.
Good point, Sterling. And again, you have to ask yourself, You know, are you there for the student's convenience, or is it more convenient for you to close at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock? Ask yourself. One of the things I always did when I was running the schools, I would call my school at night, you know, maybe at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night. I would call the competition at night. I would call them on the weekends. And ask yourself, what happens at 7, 8, 9 o'clock? Somebody's on your website, they hit the opt-in form or they call. What happens to that phone call? Most of the time, yeah, there's an autoresponder. Thanks for your interest in ABC School. Other times it'll go to voicemail. There may be a hang up. The rare instance, there may be a message left that somebody will follow up the next day. But just imagine if you're missing, and I guarantee you, everybody on this call that works at a school, you're missing at least 2, 3, 4 phone calls a week, if not more, after hours phone calls and whatnot. You know, 3, 4 a week doesn't seem like a lot, but if you times that by 50 weeks, that's 200 phone calls. Even at a minimum of an 8 to 10% conversion rate, that's 15 to 20 potential enrollments that you're losing. So what's the solution? Well, there's an answering service. Some of you may have off hours answering services, which is good. You know, with at least they can capture the information. The schools that I always ran admissions, I gave my reps a hot phone, particularly on the weekends. And the hot phone was tied to the phone number at the school. And once that phone rang, there was a live person that answered it. For 30, 40 bucks a month to get a separate phone where you can forward the school's phone number to it, an admissions hotline, whatever. And the reps used to fight for it on the weekends because come Monday, a lot of times they had 3, 4, 5 appointments set when they walked in on Monday, you know, for that week. So again, you know, it's an inexpensive way of doing it. And I know Lex, again, you know, I'm not pitching Lex's services, but he can answer your phone 24/7, just like other companies out there, you know, can do the same. So I would urge you, I would recommend, hey, call your schools a couple of times at 8 o'clock at night, see what's going on. Fill your opt-in form out at 9, 10 o'clock at night and see what happens to it. Fill it out during the day. See how long it takes for somebody to contact you, and you'll be amazed. Your hair may stand on its end. So in some cases, it may take 2, 3, 4 hours before somebody even responds to the opt-in form. Paul does a lot of B2B for us also, but he's faced with the same thing as far as contacting people, you know, right off the bat. What are some of the suggestions that you would have, Paul, you know, when you're, you know,
well, I've been with ER 10 years. I'm definitely finding it's becoming more difficult to get through to people. I think it was already, but in the COVID year we're in, that's our biggest challenge. It's just getting through. And I don't deal with prospective students. I call the schools directly. Right. And it's interesting. You can sort of get a sense of what you don't want to hear from the schools, right? From the person who's actually the window out into the world of the school. I still get a sense that it's a very mixed bag. Some people front of house in a school will answer the phone and they'll speak really rapidly. They won't identify themselves. They could probably use a mystery shop for that.
But how many times do you get voicemail or the auto menu? Because you're calling the same people that a prospective student would be, you know, when you call in the front desk.
Very, very often. Also, a really complex auto switchboard, right? Like you go to the next step, and then you may end up eventually after 5 minutes with general voicemail.
Yeah, exactly.
It's getting tougher and tougher to deal with a live person.
Well, Jacob just reinforced what we've been talking about in the chat. He said, I did a test of my rep team last year. The reps that called back answered on the weekends had a 15 to 20% higher recruit rate. So again, you know, it comes down to if you're only losing 2 phone calls a week, that's 100 a year. That's another 10 enrollments or 10 potential starts. just by, and again, would you be willing to spend 100, 200, $300 a month to acquire 10 students? Well, yeah, that's $3,000, $4,000 a year, but 10 students, if your tuition is $15,000, that's $150,000 in potential revenue. So yeah, we can't be short-sighted by saying, yeah, but it's 200 or 300. No, it could mean another $150,000.
Scott, can I share something with that?
Absolutely, Lex.
Something that we tell all of our admissions training clients is there is traditional admissions hours. Most schools are still doing those. They're banker's hours. We tell all of our reps, change to mall hours or more like mall hours. Because why are malls open when they are? They're open when it's convenient for people to shop. Most schools are still not open for convenient education shopping, shall we say. Saturdays are a no-brainer, at least from 10 to 2 local time. Friday evenings, incredible time, at least from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. Great time to get a hold of people. Great time to get a hold of people who are dreading going to work the next morning to inspire them to show up. So I highly recommend change your hours to be more like mall hours, later evenings and weekends as well.
And rotate your admissions rep where, give them an extra 2 hours off on Friday or 3 hours. Because we all know what happens on Friday afternoon from 2 to 5 o'clock or whatever. There's really not a whole heck of a lot going on. So if I let Sterling go at 2 o'clock and then, give Sterling those 3 hours to confirm appointments and set appointments, believe it or not, on Sunday between about 1 and 4 o'clock, because as Lex said, hey, think of ourselves. I love my job, but come Sunday, about 3, 4, 5 o'clock, goes through my head, oh my God, tomorrow's Monday, I got to go back to work. And this is coming from somebody that likes their job. Imagine our demographics where most people are dreading to go to their jobs on Monday. You hit them at 2, 3 o'clock on a Sunday, and they're more open, they're more apt to, you know what, maybe it is time. So again, I would recommend A/B testing it, for a month or so with different reps. Give them the 3 hours or 2 hours on Sunday for, between 2 and 4 or whatever, to confirm appointments and also set appointments. And I would guarantee your contact rate is going to go up. It really, really will. But you won't know until you try it.
I like to add something.
Absolutely.
From what Lex had said, where I work at, we have implemented those additional hours. We have people man phones from 8 to 9 Monday through Friday and 8 to 5 on the weekends. Perfect. And that usually catches roughly 80% of everybody that's inquiring for us. And it's been very, especially through these times now, it's gave us that edge. But I also like to say we utilize text messaging as well. I know phone calls is always good, but text messaging, I think just about every number that we get nowadays is assigned to a cell phone that we can get automated text messages out, sometimes just like that when an IQ or inquiry comes in and things like that. So I don't know what your take is or what you guys' point is on using text messaging. I've heard a lot of phone calls, which is still tried and true.
Sure. Well,
can I share, Scott?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Lex, because I agree. Text messaging right now is the way to contact people.
Right. And here's something that you're not doing. None of you are doing. And Jeff, you're my hero with your hours. That's awesome. And it works because this is about contact strategies. How do you make more contacts? Be available when people are wanting contact. Now, number 2, when it comes to text messaging, none of you are doing this. Sending video text messages, video email messages, extremely personal, powerful, inspirational in this white noise digital world we live in. And there's a company we work with video and text messaging. Want to find out more? Email me at lex@theartofadmissions.com. I'll give you a free demo, how to use it, what to do, give you a 2-week free trial.
So Lex, to your point on those videos, that is something that we have been working on and incorporating, because we've also found people are much more apt to watch 2-3 minute video than read a page of information. I mean, if it's information overload, reading too much is going to take you that long to read through it. So as far as videos, yes, I think that's the next thing we do, work on videos of our programs, and we attach videos in our links and stuff that we send to our students.
But even when, and I think Lex is talking about, even when you're sending an initial email to somebody, you can have a 10, 15-second video on there. Hey, Jeff, with your iPad flashing, hey, Jeff. I saw one school, Nick Lex, he did something that was totally over the top, but it was hilarious. And he was sending it out to students, and I know it was getting their attention. I forget what his metrics were, but his open rate went up by about 50, 60% just by utilizing that. So
right. Here's what you do is you send a 15 to 20-second video text message or video email. Hi, Jeff, this is Lexington, and you asked to find out more about our medical assisting program here at so-and-so school. I've been able to reach you, sending this so you can put a face to who you'll be talking with. When's the best time for us to chat today? That's it. And have either a piece of paper or an iPad or an iPhone with their name on it flashing in the beginning.
Yep.
Customizes it, disrupts them. 99% of schools aren't doing this. Huge takeaway.
Yeah, and I can't believe we're running out of time already. It's we've got maybe about another 10 minutes or so. So, and Sterling, maybe you could speak to the strategy that we have found, in fact, with Lex's input as well, and Tom naturally. But, best practices, contact strategy. Hey, we all, we get a prospective student, an inquiry in, and we're calling that student, boom, 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 10 times a day, it seems like in a lot of cases. So that really serves one purpose. It makes us seem desperate. And after a while, after the 7th or 8th message, that student pretty much has had it. They're going to block your phone number on their cell phone. They're not going to answer the machine that you call. If it's a landline, they're going to block it. So really, there is an effective strategy that you can adhere to that can be more effective, and it's proven to be a bit more effective. Is it going to have you make you have 100% contact rate? No, but if you can increase your contact rate by 10, 20, 30%, that it can mean another 1, 2, 3 enrollments a week, or an increase in your interviews. So Sterling, if you want to go through it, that would be great.
Yeah, if I could just jump in quickly, Scott, speaking about best practices, we've got a question from Jacob about whether we can mystery shop Canadian schools. Sterling?
Yes, we can.
Sure.
Yeah. No
That's
problem. Yeah, no, we and definitely, if any of you are interested in learning more about mystery shopping, reach out to myself or Scott after this, and then we could talk to you about that, because we actually have a whole section now dedicated to mystery shopping, because we've always done mystery shopping, but we did a few recently that were really just shone light on what's going on, and we're seeing the same things happening. So we decided internally it's time to offer more mystery shopping. So yeah, reach out to us about that.
We do it for our clients, and again, just to let them know what's going on. And certainly Lex, does mystery shopping, as well. So, so again, you can get a 1-2 punch. Our clients are, from Lex.
In our schools, we do a lot of mystery shopping. When we hire a new employee to start them off so they can understand what our business is about at Trials College, we have them shop us. And also goes right through the call center.
Don't have a clue. She's here.
Perfect.
So
Sterling, I'm sharing my screen, so hopefully you can see the strategy page up.
I actually don't see you sharing your screen.
Huh.
Can other people see it? I just missed it.
No, nothing.
Yeah, I've
It was up earlier.
Okay, how about now?
There we go. Excellent. Yeah, so the one thing that I'm a big fan of, and this is with regards to reach out, and also I believe it's a part of conversion optimization, is you're reaching out with different techniques, right? So as you can see on this strategy, and can you just scroll down a little bit? You have the autoresponder, goes out right away, automated, and ideally it will set the stage and tell them what's going to happen next, prepare them, as well as the thank you page that they hit when they submit the lead should also tell them this is what's going to happen next. Let them know here's what we're going to do, and hopefully someone calls them immediately, follows up with that, following through on what was promised. So the first call is immediate. And actually, there's a lot of data out there around first point of contact, when to make the first call. About 10 years ago, people were talking about, oh yeah, you got to make it within the first half hour, first 10 minutes. And then about 5 years ago, everyone's saying within 5 minutes. It has to be within 5 minutes. Now it's within 1 minute, or less than 1 minute. The studies that I've seen, it used to say, like Velocify did a study about 5 or 6 years ago that said the half-life of a lead was 1 day. At 1 day, if you don't call a lead, you're gonna have half the chance of contacting it day 2 and half the chance day 3, so it'll be a quarter of the chance ongoing. Then a Harvard Business Review study from about 2016, I believe, stated that the half-life of a lead was 28 minutes. So once 28 minutes passes, you have half the chance of contacting that lead. And so I was actually looking for that study just recently, and I found a new Harvard business study which stated that within the first 10 minutes, if you wait 10 minutes to call, your contact rate has decreased by 10x. So you have a tenth the chance of contacting someone if you've waited 10 minutes. Now, it doesn't have the half-life in that study, but if it is linear, the half-life is 1 minute. So you could take what you want with all these studies with a grain of salt, but the conclusion is the same. As the world moves forward, as we continue to go through to the future, students expect more immediate results, and the contact time is getting shorter, the best practice for that. It continues to get shorter. What's expected is becoming less. 20 years ago, if you could think of who was a student 20 years ago, you're looking at Gen Xers, they have a little more patience. They could wait a day and you call them back. Like they're filling out this contact form and they'll wait. Nowadays you're doing it with millennials or post-millennials, Gen Z, and those people, their whole life has been instant. Everything. They've grown up with the internet was already there. Everything in their life has been at their fingertips. They haven't waited for information. Some of you might remember when you would have arguments with someone about a movie, you'd have to pull out the Leonard Maltin movie book, if you remember that, and scroll through that because there was no actual IMDb or place where you could just find that stuff. So yeah, I focus a lot on the first point, the first call, but I am a firm believer that when you're able to increase that, you see contact rate go up right away. And then going forward in that, as what Scott was sharing, you want to make the reach outs in multiple reach out different ways. So email, text. I'm a big fan of social media. If you go into their social media profile and you message them through Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, it's a very passive way to reach out as well because they only see it when they log in. So all those ways are great ways to reach out. And social media is one that people don't think about. Most schools have their own account. So you message from the school account and it's a great way to engage them. And some people feel more comfortable talking on social media. So you want to give them all the opportunities to reach back to you or to make contact. And it's like we talked about when we were optimizing a website. You want to have multiple call to actions to capture everyone's needs. You want to contact these people in multiple different ways because they might have one preferred way they like. Some people still like the phone, and thank God. But then the younger people, texting is probably the only way you could get a lot of them, or social media even. And then there's people like myself who sort of Gen X people who, yeah, we love technology, but we still aren't afraid of the phone. So if someone calls me, I'll pick up that call. But if you text me first, I probably just text back and not answer the phone. So a lot of nuance in there too on what you put out there for your contacts. I'm a believer, and I don't have a lot of data behind this, that when you text before you call, you're giving them an opportunity to just continue that conversation on text and never pick up a phone. So I always prefer you always call first. And then when you don't make that first point of contact, then you go to texting, because texting is probably going to be the way that you get the most response out of someone, especially the younger generation.
And if you have a schedule, again, on a daily schedule of what's going out, it's avoiding, you calling 8, 9, 10 times a day. And also it's important, if you are calling every day or every other day, to call at different times, because hey, if you can't reach them in the morning, then chances are they may be working. So,
and you also, when you're doing all these different reach outs, when you have a very strict schedule, everyone's doing exactly the same thing, that allows you to benchmark. So if you have everyone sends everything out identical, then there's no deviation. Every single day, everyone's the same schedule. Your enrollment rate is, your contact rate is, all your benchmarks in admissions. Then you can make a change. Let's test switching a few things around. And now we could run this and everyone does the same thing. We have a hard benchmark, and we could see if that improves things scientifically. And
we'll send this to anybody who wants it. Scott at Enrollment Resources, Paul at Enrollment Resources, Sterling at Enrollment Resources. If somebody, every time I try to do something, it stops my screen from sharing. So if somebody can put all of our email, and we'll email you the schedule. And like Sterling said, A/B test it. It doesn't have to be exact, but it's a really good schedule to get on as far as contact. After 15 days or 2 weeks, hey, you may want to put them into your drip marketing or lead nurturing campaign as well. So
one thing to add, Scott and Sterling, is we have the appointment setting division where we set appointments for schools as well, and we make millions and millions of calls a year. And what we found in best practices is sometimes different demographics, the instant call under 7 seconds is best. Sometimes the instant text asking when is the best time to talk today, we found actually creates a higher actual contact rate. The key is, as Sterling and Scott are both saying, test these things. What's going to be best in your area, your demographics, your specific prospective students.
And again, Lex has a whole schedule. Also, Lex at theartofadmissions.com as well can shed some light onto scheduling and things like that.
I really like what you said there, Lex, about the texting, because you texted, it wasn't an open-ended question. It was very specific. What time is best? It's assumptive too. You're not saying, are you available? That gives them a chance to say no first before you even get there. It's assumptive. You filled this out. When is a time that you can talk? You're not asking, this is a straight up, you're not asking if you can talk, you're saying, when is it? This assumptive approach works really well with people who are opted in. So this person opted in, they filled out a contact form on your website. So instead of taking a step backwards and maybe being a little meek about the reach out, send them that text if that's the strategy you're going with, and just straight up ask them, and their response to you is going to be to answer that question, as Lex probably had tons of experience with. Whereas if you lead with the more meat question beforehand and then get there, you give them the opportunity to say no, or just to have that go in a different direction than you want to.
Right on. Yeah.
Yep. And these are the numbers, the stats that flipped me out. And again, it was true when I was, running admissions. 50% of leads are never called the second time. Particularly if you're in a lead-rich school, which, again, there are still a few out there. Like that. Well, we have about 2 minutes. There are schools out there that are lead-rich, but again, we'll call them one time, maybe 2 times, and then boom, they get put into the bank, into the funnel, whatever. And then the new leads are called. 80%, again, are finally made contact with between the 7th and 12th contact attempt. So again, it's 2 stats that really flip me out.
Yeah, I have the Harvard study up. It's not enough time for me to share my screen, but it goes into about the percentage of people you make contact with each phone call. So it recommends that at least 6 calls to reach 90% of the people you will reach. So it's not 90% contact rate, but of the people who you will reach in the end, you'll reach 90% of them by the 6th call. And it states that the first call, you get 38% of people you'll make contact with, and it's incrementally, like the second call is about 50%, and then slowly goes up. So if you're making any less than 6 calls, you're doing yourself a disservice. I'm a firm believer of 7, 8 calls because I want to get higher than 90. There's a Velocify study that showed on the 7th call, you make contact with 98% of possible people. So the persistence is huge there. But again, like Scott said at the very start, mix it up with other types of communication too. Because if you're just calling every day and nothing else, then they might block you, or you're not communicating with the way that they best want to